this is what we believe in, this is what we do. This doesn't change for us, right? I mean, I don't care if we play spread team, option team, wing tee team, this is what we do. And towards the middle of the season, we ended up getting okay at it. But we're a gap exchange overlap defense, meaning that you don't have a specific gap. You know, we're going to line up the right way, but then when the ball is snapped, frankly, our C gap player might be an A gap player when the ball is snapped. So our gap will change based on what offense does. Again, I'm sure most of us are like that. We fit schemes, not plays. And again, I don't roll your eyes at me because I know that's redundant. I know that you guys all know that, but I think we can get into that trap as coaches of, oh my gosh, how am I going to stop? We just started talking about flat bones. You know, we ran that in McGonigal for 6 years, and that's a bitch. It's hard. So when we go into it, if we try to stop midline triple, and then all the way they block it and all that kind of stuff, and then they throw the counter. All right, let's just take a deep breath. What's the blocking schemes? What do they look like? We know how to fix these schemes. Whether they go into run like, you know, power teams or spread, you know, run team. There's only so much an offensive lineman can do, and that's what we try to base stuff off of. Okay? It does start with our defensive line and works back to all different levels for run fits. So we do incorporate everybody. In fact, I'll get to it. Our safety is a big part of our run fit game. All right? Sometimes our corner's not quite as much. Again, I talked about this in the first session. We'll attempt to spill everything to the outside, and this includes our inside linebackers. So even if you were going to run like weak side ISO, weak side bob at us, our weak side linebacker, I would like him to be hat in hand and knock you back. We can't always do that. But when in doubt, we are not trying to force it into our mic. Because where our mic is, and again, I know we all run different defenses, he's back. So our inside guys are up. Our mic is back, and he'll overlap it. The theory is pretty simple, right? It's like every step they take towards our goal line is a bad step for us. Every step that we can get them to go to the sideline is better for us. Now, this last bullet point is so important because I've talked to guys, and maybe I'm not smart enough to understand what they were saying, but I know this: if you're going to be a spill team, and that's all we do, like even if we're bringing, even when we bring pressure, right? And I could do a whole thing on pressure, but that's not what this really is about. But when we do bring pressure, we are looking, can we bounce everything, right? But then you better have an edge player, right? So whenever we draw up anything, right, and we are multiple front, but in every front, knowing that our linebacker, our ends, everybody inside is going to spill it. Well, who are you going to spill it to? And frankly, you could say, well, we're going to put the corner out there and cover two, and he's going to be our spill guy. He's going to clean up when that ball bounces. That's awesome if you can do it, right? Our guys can't do it. So we've got to figure out a way. And here's the other thing about that. We want it normally. So I can't say, I don't want to lie to you. Normally, I want it to be the same kid, right? Because I can put it on this whiteboard, right, and it looks really good. But if that kid has never been an edge player, and then we go into a game and I say, now you're the edge of the defense, after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 weeks of being a downhill spill type of a linebacker, that's not fair to him. And then I can go back, yes, I can feel good that, yeah, I drew it up on a board. So that's our philosophy. And anything that we see, we try to stick to that almost exclusively. And I think it makes it easy for the kids, right? If something else gets goofy, I mean, that's on coaches to fix, but I don't want to defend all your plays. I know there's a lot of great offensive people in here too. You guys are way too smart. I don't want to mess with that, right? We want to line up correctly. We want to stick to our philosophy, and I'll defend your schemes, but not all your plays because I don't even know what all of them are. All right, so I'll go through this somewhat quickly. This is our key drill. Again, after our indie drill, we do some sort of this. This is an everyday drill. We'll either do it 1 versus 1, 1 versus 2. Everyone here, obviously everyone here is doing the same thing. I just drew them all together for you. The big ones, those are the 4 big ones, right? So the turnout block, maybe on the backside of inside zone, the front side of an ISO play, whatever. Again, we talked about this, but you know, the buzzword we use on that is obviously fight pressure, but close the door. If that offensive lineman wants to open the door, we got to fight that back. And we're not a 2-gap team. We're a gap and a half team. when we're good. I don't know if we're a gap and a half team this year. Meaning this, that if I get a turnout block by an offensive lineman and I feel that pressure, can I fight long arm, okay, and my foot and push him back and condense that gap for my linebacker to fill and hopefully get that thing to bounce, and my Mike can get over the top, my free safety can get in the alley, and my edge player, which I'll show you on film, oh boy, that's a tough position. Everything, those guys shouldn't get blocked. I mean, we're a counter team, we run power, we run a lot of wing T stuff. Guys, if we're going to trap you inside, we don't block the outside guys. Meaning that if you could get our offense to bounce to those guys, they're never blocked. So those guys have to be able to tackle them, they got to have their feet right. So that might be a whole other speech there too. Reach, now look, I tell our ends don't get reach. But it's kind of a shitty thing to do, right? To tell a kid that you better get real tight on him, right? Don't you dare, if he down, but don't you dare get reach. So here's what we tell our kids. Don't get reach. And we tell them, long arm, so if I'm getting the tackle trying to reach me to the left, we'd say about long arm, I'm trying to go long hip. Eventually, when I start to feel my body turn, kind of tell them to wipe their nose, club off, finish the drill, going back towards our outside line of scrimmage. But what we tell our backers in our run fit game is, if he gets reached, make him right? So if we get into a situation where we are reached, the one thing we cannot have our ends do is this. So if I'm reached, Eric, come here real quick.
All right.
That's fine, don't have to be on show. Just come here. These are the guys that showed up. So if Eric, if Eric reaches me, he's got me beat. Put your hands on me, Eric. It's okay. All right. The one thing I can't do is this. Okay. So I'm just going to keep fighting, and I got to trust the guy behind me. Stay right there. That he'll get over the top of it and make me right. If I've got him beat, long arm, long hip, okay, and then eventually working back, the backer's going to make me right again. And that's that whole gap exchange thing. That wasn't so bad, Eric.
Coach, do you have trouble teaching this when you can't to the platoon?
Yeah. Yes, of course. But I'll say this: we don't teach a lot. Meaning that these are the 4 blocks I'm going to teach, and I'm going to emphasize these. But yes, especially in year 1, right? When you take over a program and all that kind of. But I'm sure all of us have done that. If you're head coach, you're taking over a program, now you're doing it your way. So the one thing I'll say, Coach, is that we teach all these. But then what are the team, I'm going to emphasize, if we're playing power team, we're working a lot of this in our key drills, all right? We're working a lot of pull stuff in our key drills, right? So I will focus on that, because like you said, I want to show them everything. Now here, to your point, we'll teach them the screen stuff, the pull stuff, and if we just get a base block, that's fine. We'll spend that much time on it. I feel we can do it in other places, and I can't teach everything. So I just think of what can hurt us, I focus on that, and then like to your, what does the week look like? It gets down to like that. Okay. So yeah, that's a good, I think we all struggle with that, but especially, the nice thing for us this year, I hate to say it like this, our numbers were low. We took the program over kind of late. We had to shake the bushes a little bit, but you can get 7 defensive linemen, 8 defensive lines, all we had, and you can kind of work with them a little bit closer. Now again, they're also all our offensive linemen too. I think one of them might have been a corner or outside linebacker, something like that. All right, here's a 2-man stuff, and this is what we talked about. I think this is a better drill because frankly, it's just what I think you see it a little bit more. Double team, we talked about it. We're going to attack one when we feel the other one coming. And boy, I've gone back and forth with really good football coaches that disagree with me on this, and that's perfectly fine. They're probably right, but this has worked for us. You got to get kids to buy into it, right? So I am going to, now first, the best way to defeat a double team is to knock that first guy back, and then he can't double you, right? So if I can get in there, and I can hit, and I can change the level, he can't double team me. That's great, that's awesome. It doesn't happen all the time. So when you get that hard double, we do want to fit into it, but I'll be honest, as soon as this happens, we're down immediately, trying to take 2. I hope we'll get to the film where you're going to see us not do that. And now, I just talked about like, whether it's our mic or it's our back overlapping, and now here comes a nose guard coming right back into him, and you can't play football that way. I don't know how many of you, I'm always interested in how people teach this. But again, this gets back to that power stuff. Yeah, it is hard. gap pull. Here's how we teach it. If my guy pulls, I'm gonna go ahead, okay, I'm looking at the number goes away, right? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna shoot my outside arm, try to flip my hips and get real skinny. That's great clinic talk, it doesn't always work that way, because I'm also getting a guy down blocking me. I wanna stay as tight as possible. Here's the thing though, because we're an overlap team, when we get a down block, our backer should be coming. So the big thing is don't get driven into the A gap, if that makes sense, right? So if I'm the end, tight end's coming down on me, okay? If I can, even if I have to post it, that's fine. We do have guys that'll chase down, right? That'll flip their hips like a pass rush, okay? Even like use that elbow to do the ice pick and back. That's awesome, that's great, I love it. You don't see it happen very often. Cross face, I don't know. I don't like to defend again. As an offensive coach, when we block and guys are crossing our face, I think it's a good technique. I think it screws up our, if I got a really good kid, our nose guard, okay? Now, he'd be a kid, I want to tell you the truth. He didn't see a lot of pull because we didn't see a lot of center pull, but he'd be the type of kid that if he could do it, go do it, right? But first you gotta do it my way, right? If you're across the face team, awesome. I'd always be interested in how your linebacker fits up on it, but that's your deal. This is the hardest one for us, without a doubt, because we are a hard squeeze team. So if I got two guys, right, if I'm the nose guard and my center block's down and I'm gonna squeeze him down, right, and my momentum's going that way, and now I get this, all right, there's two trains of thought on it. Keep squeezing them, and now let all your linebackers come over the top. It's not what we do, okay? When I start to feel that, we gotta go slow at first, put my foot in the ground, and I'm gonna pop vertical. You say, well, coach, you're not a vertical team. We don't mind getting vertical when you don't want us to get vertical, right? And here you don't want us to get vertical. You're trying to get your head across, you're trying to get us washed down. The other thing, the rule still stands. If I'm getting pushed out of my gap, vertically or horizontally, get down, take two. So if I'm down here and I'm saying, shit, right? I can sit down and take two, okay? I can pull here. I don't know, we haven't been called for defensive holding very often. We defensive hold a lot. The scoop stuff, the zone stuff, the one thing that we talk about a lot is don't get overtook, you know? So if coach is here, you know, and whether it could be outside zone, outside inside, whatever you guys call it, all right? And he's like, I'm gonna fight here, now I feel this overtake coming. We usually call a spine technique. He's still like from Wisconsin, from Coach Partridge. So as soon as I start to feel that, okay, so if coach was here, I'm gonna try to work my body right through the back of his spine and try to change the level the best I can, right? Again, if I start feeling myself overtook, I don't mind the guys getting down, giving ourselves up. A lot of D-line coaches say, we just don't do that, that's fine. But we are willing to give ourselves up with the idea that if I can take two, the guys behind me will get it done. And they may not get their name called, but they're going to hear. Then as a coach, if you're going to teach that, you better load those kids up like crazy. Now, the last thing I'll say about this slide is we're a big slanting team. So again, why you do this? Well, you better do this out of the slant, right? So we'll say, okay, hey, 2-on-1 key drill, slant left. All right. So now I'm going to slant to my left. Okay, we talked about that big step. Now I'm playing stuff technique just on the opposite guy. The nice thing is the rules don't change, right? The hardest one when you slant, obviously, is when you get this one, right? When you get this one, so if I'm lined up here and I slant to the guard and he pulls the bucket step and overtake, I cannot end up in the A gap. So now I'm going to work through his spine the best I can. I think I've got some fundamentals doing it okay. Let me show you one or two more and let's get to the film. Because I do want to get the auto check stuff. Like I said, it doesn't take me that long.